Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So, let's talk about the parties for the moment. So, I put out a request, I think it was maybe a week or two ago, about wanting to discuss a Green Party candidate. Essentially having a conversation with the Green Party, a person in the Green Party who's running for office. One gentleman did hit me up, and I went to investigate his page because I wanted to know a little bit more about him. And as I'm looking over his page, I see somebody responding to him, getting pissy at him and making this argument saying that, in a nutshell, in Germany, that when Hitler was on the ballot, that the people who voted for third parties in that particular election thought they were doing so because they wanted to have a clear conscience. And how a conscience is not something that's typically associated with Nazi Germany. He's trying to say that the fact that this guy is in a Green Party is somehow responsible for Donald Trump being in that office. And at the exact same time of making that particular comparison, is assuming or making a comparison with Donald Trump and Hitler. Now, this is multiple levels of stupid. It really is. The guy named is like Bob Creepo or something. But this is ridiculous on many levels. So, the main point, though, that I want to hit home on, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are two corporations. There is no fundamental reason why either one of those parties should be associated with our government. Those parties can go bust tonight. They can go bust right now. Additional parties will spring up and the country will go ticking on just fine. None of those corporations, either of those parties, have any right to be a part of the political process. They don't have a right. Just because they are, doesn't necessarily mean there's a fundamental reason that they should. The point I'm getting at is, whether it's Democratic Party, Republican Party, Green Party, Libertarian, Socialist, whatever, any of those parties have just as much right to the political apparatus as any other particular party. Now, the government of the United States, you gotta understand that there is a distinction between the governmental apparatus and the person who's running that apparatus. The person who's running that apparatus is almost like saying you have a bus and you have a bus driver. Well, the bus driver could be anybody. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, you would hope that person can ride the bus, but ultimately the bus is a thing unto itself. The person who's driving is just a person who's in charge of it. Now, in our particular country, we have elections to make the determination of who's going to be the driver of that particular bus. The corporation or the party, in this very specific case, it's almost like hiring a manager of sorts. Yeah, I like that. It's like you're hiring a manager. That particular manager has a team associated with them. The job of that particular corporation is to run the U.S. government. Now, if you're going to make this case that people were wrong for voting Green Party, or even wrong for being in the Green Party, then you need to explain to me why it's the Green Party's responsibility to get your shitty candidate elected. Because ultimately, all of this boils down to, you had a crummy candidate. Progressives told you had a crummy candidate. Your candidate cheated millions of people in the political process. And your candidate was so disliked that you could not be the reality show host. That's what it boils down to. Now, instead of you having the conversation with your candidate about what's wrong with that dumpster fire of a party, the Democratic Party, that's not the conversation you want to have. You want to do the same thing that Democrats have been doing, with pointing the finger at everybody else, instead of dealing with the issues that you yourself have created. You're literally arguing with a guy who's running in Green Party, part of the political process, because your crummy candidate couldn't beat the most hated person in American politics, ever. The day Donald Trump was elected, 60% of the people said he wasn't qualified for the job. And guess what? That man who wasn't qualified for the job was better than your candidate. He was better than your candidate. And at the very least, the American public thought he was better than your candidate. The idea that you're looking at somebody else, some other party, and you're pointing to that party, and even, let's take out the philosophical basis or the ridiculousness from a philosophical level. Jill Stein only got like 1% of the vote. She only got 1% of the vote. So I have no clue what you're talking about. This is a Democrat thing. This is a Hillbot thing. Bob Creepo was probably one of those guys who didn't want to pay attention to the Podesta leaks. That Bob Creepo was probably one of those guys who was like, oh, she'll never get indicted. She'll never get indicted. There is no way that a reality show host could ever beat Hillary Clinton. She's so qualified. I mean, she's not corrupt. I don't know why people say she's corrupt. This is the ridiculousness that we're probably dealing with. I feel sorry for the Green Party candidate having to hear that. I do feel sorry for him having to hear that. He's probably hearing people saying, yeah, if you weren't in that race, or the dumbest argument I think I've heard was, so now, I think Bill Maher made this argument. This is ridiculous. So now, aren't you sad you didn't vote for Hillary Clinton? It's like, no, I'm not sad I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. No, not at all. Not at all. I'm unclear about the major distinctions that you think are going to take place if Hillary Clinton was in office. And ultimately, I think we'll probably be further along the line of being in some kind of conflict with Russia if she wasn't at office. So that's besides the point, though. The main point I'm getting at is those two parties have no right to the political apparatus any more than any other party has a right to the political apparatus. It is the responsibility of your candidate to get people to vote for that candidate, not anybody else. Not anybody else. If your candidate is such a failure that she can't get people out to the polls to vote for her, then the American people didn't want to vote for her. And she can move on. It is insane that you're going to look at somebody else and get mad at somebody else because your candidate couldn't convince those people to vote for your particular candidate. That's insane. That's insane. That is stupid on top of stupid. If you want a candidate to win, then you need to find a candidate who, for the most part, can get people to come out to vote for them. If you're going to cheat the process, if you're going to continuously say, hey, it's her turn. Hey, it's her turn. And look, if you say it's not her turn, you're trying to help Russia and you're trying to help Putin. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. And in 2020, 2018, you are going to continue to lose, believing that this lesser evil argument is somehow the bee's knees and somehow the best argument in the world to keep people from voting for a Democrat, even though it's not in their best interest. Your problem this term is that the people, for the most part, realize it wasn't in their best interest. They realized they were cheated. They realized they were being scammed. And even though they were terrified of Donald Trump, they couldn't bring themselves to vote for your candidate. That's not a problem with the Green parties. That's not a problem with the Republican Party. That is a problem with your party. And if your party needs to, you need to work that out. You need to work that out. But let me tell you how you won't work that out. By pointing fingers at Russia or Comey or some Green Party candidate who had nothing to do with your candidate just failing miserably on a presidential level. So let's be honest. Let's be real. Yeah, let's be honest on that point. All right, guys. If you enjoy the content, feel free to write, feel free to share and subscribe, and you can always support the work through Patreon. Thank you.